Hi guys, Squirrel here. I hope you're enjoying Construction Simulator 2022, should we call it that. In this video, I'm going to take you through some of the tips and tricks that I've learned in playing this game for over 50 hours. So, let's get started. So what I've done is I've split the tips into different categories, and you should see in the YouTube timeline the categories that I've chosen, so you can skip forward to any particular category that you feel like you want to get some tips and tricks in. The first category we're going to look at is settings, changing some of the settings just to make life a little bit better. So if you press escape and go to your settings, the first tip that I'll give you, particularly if you're on PC, is this one, is turn off show cursor. You have a cursor on your screen normally and it doesn't mouse capture it properly. It will go outside of the window, so I strongly suggest that you turn that one off. It's just not necessary to have it on. Next setting I would suggest is dialing down the effects volume, just because audio effects in the game, particularly around gravel and soil, can be very loud. So maybe knock that down. I have mine on 60. I also have the music turned off. Video settings, I'm not particularly struggling, but if you are, have a look through the settings and maybe drop down on your vegetation and your shadows. They're the usual culprits, and your draw distance. Under gameplay, I would look at your traffic density and consider dialing that down. I have mine on medium. The AI in most games is pretty dumb, and if you have it on high, it'll just get in the way. Also, dialing it down a bit will help to reduce any load on your graphics card, because it doesn't have as many vehicles to draw. Traffic offences, I turn those off. Why? Well, because I don't want all kinds of fines from dumb AI, and also because I like punting AI vehicles around with impunity. Next thing I would suggest you look at is the navigation assistance. Now, the navigation assistance is the arrow that appears when you select a waypoint on the map. You say, oh, I want to go here, and then what the navigation assistance does is draw arrows on the ground. The AI navigation on the sat-nav is not particularly bright. It will often take you in kind of weird and wonderful routes, and personally I don't like having the arrows on the ground anyway. I'd rather just follow the map in the bottom left. So I generally run that navigation assistance turned off, and that gets rid of those annoying arrows. The next tip I'll give you is specifically to do with your helmet, and something that the devs put into the game because of me. They've done it for other streamers and influencers as well, I believe, but this is mine. So if you go to start game and click on your profile, or whenever you create a new profile, there's an option down here to modify. So if I right click and modify my profile, what I can then do is click on modify. I can then go to my appearance, and if I press the G key, it'll pop up and ask for a code. If you put in squirrel as the code like that, click accept, you'll notice under decals that you don't see a squirrel logo. It's only available on Helmet 4, but once you've put that code in, under Helmet 4, you should be able to find the option to choose a decal of squirrel, and then you can rock my logo on your helmet. What a fantastic tip. The next thing I want to look at is skills. Which skills do we choose as we level up? Well, if we go to the skills page, which is under your profile here, you may, when you look at this, you may wonder, well, as I get available skill points, what should I spend it on? What is the priority? I'm going to tell you what I think, in my opinion, are the most valuable ones to get. So I would start off by saying this: good business sense. Good business sense, as it says down there, will earn you a bonus on every job you complete. So the more points you put in this, I can't remember what the exact bonus is, but it's quite a chunk of change. I think it's like 30-40% or something. So every job you do will bring in more money. So it's really important to do that as soon as you can. Second one I would go for is this, the bulk material capacity. You will find yourself moving soil and gravel and sand around quite a lot in this game. Not only that, but if you're excavating, you'll be wanting to put it in the back of a dump truck as well. Never mind just bringing gravel to and from the gravel plant. This will make your capacity on your dump trucks much greater, and that means fewer trips to the gravel plants, and you can excavate for longer. So definitely worth putting points in that one. The next one I would go for is crane speed. Cranes and dump trucks are the more or less the most common things you'll do. Having a faster crane will allow you to move things around the yard. Whether you're lifting walls or whether you're just moving goods around the yard, crane speed, super important to get your points into there quickly as well. Equally, concrete viscosity. You'll find in this game that you pour a lot of concrete. If you're not lifting walls up, you're pouring concrete into something. So these two kind of go hand in hand. You might want to put a point in each of them and just level them up together. But after you've done bulk capacity, I would definitely look to put all my points into here. Once you've got all of that done, I would then move on to asphalt capacity. This is less important for reasons that I'll go into later, but asphalt capacity can be particularly useful if you're laying asphalt and you're reloading from a dump truck, because it will improve how much asphalt it can store in the asphalt paver. After you've done all of those, I would then move down to fuel and wear efficient driving. These will just save you money, particularly if you're driving around rather than fast traveling. It'll save you money on fuel and it'll save you money on repair costs, which will obviously improve your profit. And when you're done with all of that, finally, I would move on to fitness. Fitness is one of those things where, you know, when you run around the yard, if I've got maximum points in fitness, so the speed that I run is maxed out. But in reality, you don't do an awful lot of running around the yard, so it's kind of the thing that I would put points in the last. So that sums it up for the skills. Let's talk about buying versus renting. When you're starting out in this game or you're in the mid-game, what kind of things should you be looking to buy, and what kind of things can you rent for longer until you've got the money to buy? Well, when you look at something like, say, a tower crane, it has a purchase cost and a rental cost. So it'll cost you $250,000 to buy this thing. That sounds a lot, but some of these contracts you can easily get will bring in 100 grand in the early days. And very quickly, you'll find yourself doing 400,000 contracts, 800,000 contracts, particularly if you play it on hard difficulty, which we'll talk about later. Rental cost for this thing is 5,000 a day. Now, with a tower crane, you'll have it on site usually for most of the construct, which means you'll be using it for a long period of time. So this, to me, and the mobile crane, this is something that you should look at buying quickly. You should look at acquiring these, and then you can use them on site. Tower cranes will take a fee to set up and take down as well, so it cost about 6,000 just to put the tower crane in place, so bear that in mind. That's on top of anything you pay for rental or buying. This won't cost you anything, so you could feasibly use one of these instead of a tower crane, but tower cranes do have a fantastic reach and are really easy to use. These have a very good reach and can lift heavier loads. But all in all, I would look to buy a tower crane and or a mobile crane first and foremost. After that, I would start to look at a concrete mixer, again, because you need a lot of concrete. You're going to have these on and off site quite regularly. The concrete pump, less of a worry. You can just rent these as you need them, but you will almost certainly need to buy concrete mixers. After you've done those, I would start to look into something like the trucks, particularly the dump trucks. You're going to find that you are moving soil and gravel around a lot in this game, and it really pays to have some dump trucks in the early days, just so that you're not paying rental costs. Now, a word of advice, I have found some issues with these articulated dump truck trailers in multiplayer. I would recommend not getting these articulated ones. These seem to work quite fine. Whether that'll get fixed, I don't know, but that's just an aside. So you definitely want to get some of those trucks. And then after that, look at your, not the asphalt compactors, the soil compactors, if I can find them. They should be over here somewhere. Come on, where are you? There. No, not there. Yes, there. Soil compactor. Again, you're going to be working with gravel a lot. Same with the dozer, although the dozer's better rented. This is something that you want to get. They're not that expensive, so you might want to get one lying around the yard. And then move on to the dozer as well, because you're going to need a lot of this. That's the kind of order I would do it in. Renting, I would definitely only rent this until you've got lots of money, because you don't do that much drilling. Fairly infrequent in use. Asphalt paver is a similar thing. You can rent that. Generally speaking, you're preparing ground, then you're just going to asphalt at the end and then press it down. So the asphalt paver, the asphalt compactor, and the asphalt truck, if I can find it, these are things that I would rent right up until the point where you've got a lot of money. And the similar thing with the motor grader. So that's the kind of order that I would do things in. Regularly use stuff that needs to be on site, buy as quickly as you can. Everything else just rent until you can afford to get it. And one last thing to bear in mind is if you go to your company vehicle fleet, make sure that you don't do this. You see that's got a little timer on it. That means that's a rented vehicle. Don't store rented vehicles in your company warehouse, because you will carry on paying rent and you'll forget about them and they will sit there and cost you money. When you're finished with them, send them back as quickly as you can. Don't store them away. Let's talk about contracts and how to have multiple contracts and how to find the best contracts. So if you go to your job screen, normally when you start out, these two spaces here will be locked. You can only take one contract at a time. In order to take more than one contract at a time, you need to have a foreman. The way that you get the foreman is you look under company and then upgrade levels. And under upgrade levels, under the small, medium, large, there is a medium here. Foreman 1 is the first thing that you need. If you get this and then unlock it, it will allow you to accept 2 contracts at a time. The next stage on from that is Foreman 2, which you get under the large upgrade level, and that allows you to have 3 contracts at a time. So what you need to do is pay attention to these milestone levels on the left here and get these things here unlocked. And when they unlock, you need to purchase them. So having got yourself multiple contract spaces, you may think to yourself, well, I can do multiple contracts at a time, can't I? Yes, you can. And in theory, if you was in multiplayer, part of your team could be working on one contract while your other part of your team is working on another. That sounds lovely in theory, but the game's multiplayer isn't that solid. And so in practice, I've found that you're better off all just working on one contract at a time. So why then would you need multiple spaces? Well, to put simply, because these contracts refresh and change, and some of them are better than others. Like the one on the right here, it's only worth 10,000. It's a small job, one stage, quickly do it, but it's not really worth it. You can get much better contracts than that. Say, I don't know, let's say you go to you look at them, you know what kind they're going to be. This is going to be excavating for sure, and this is going to be asphalting. Asphalting is fairly quick to do. It doesn't take that long. And the other thing is, you can refresh stuff. So if you hold the key down the bottom there and refresh, there's no limit to how many refreshes you can do. And some of the jobs that appear here will be worth $1 million plus. You just got to have a bit of patience and wait. Just keep refreshing. So if you do spot something, but you're in the middle of a job, you can add it to your list now, because you can put it in the bank, put it in your contract list, and then just come back to it later. So that's one of the benefits. Also, when you do click on a job, bottom left, although it shows your earnings is estimated at 410,000, that is on a job scope of medium. You can knock this between 3 settings, low, medium and high, and each of them will vary the amount of steps, how long each step takes, and how much money you paid, and it gives you an idea of the duration down there. Now, some of the jumps are not very big. This goes from 320,000, 410 to 500. Not huge. We should be able to find a contract where the job steps are significantly more. I'll see if I can find a good one for you. Right, here you go. Here's a good example. So they see this here. There's a single family house, and there's also, if we go left, another single family house. So watch this. This single family house, if we go from low, 200,000, an extra 50, followed by an extra 50. So the difficulty level only goes up an extra 100,000. But look at the other single family house. This one goes from 175 to 235 to 350. That's literally double from low to high for some extra steps. So bear that in mind. And if you look at the reason, you'll start to see why. Construction preparation just involves trench excavation. If I make it hard, there'll be topsoil removal as well. And there'll be other things that are going on. There'll be more floors to do, for example. On a multi-floor project, if you make it a harder difficulty, what you'll find is each floor has more stuff to do. And you'll also usually have more floors to do as well. So that takes longer, but pays a really handsome amount of money. So it's worth exploring these things. Don't just assume that you will be paid the fee that it says here. Go into it and just try moving these settings and see what you find. And I've done this before in the early days, where I got myself like a $1.4 million contract, which in the early days was insane. But as I quickly found out, that was a lot of steps, but it was totally worth doing. It brought in a bucket load of cash. So definitely play around with your contracts. Right, let's talk about fast traveling and getting in and out of vehicles quickly and all that kind of thing. Now, ordinarily, if you look over and think, I want to get inside that crane, right? I could run over there, no problem at all. I've got this kind of fast running speed, so it wouldn't take me long. The other way is to fast travel your way into vehicles. And the way you do that is by pressing either the number 3 key, if you're on keyboard, or up on the D-pad, if you're on controller. So if you do that, it will instantly bring up these machines here. And I can then see, right, where's my crane? There's my crane. Boom. And I'm in. That saved me running over to here. It might not sound a lot, but that can actually save you a lot of time getting around, particularly across the map. The only downside is it doesn't really show you which vehicle is which. It doesn't give you an idea of where this is located. So if this was in the yard and this was on the job site, I have no way of telling by looking at this. But to be fair, it doesn't take that long to find out. So it's definitely worth doing that rather than running around. Let's look at something else to do with fast traveling. And that's to do with how much things cost when you fast travel and whether it's worth selling things by fast travel or loading on site. And this is where it gets interesting. So I want to show you a few things here, and there's a few little tips and tricks mixed up, but they all kind of relate to each other. Particularly in the early days, you may not realize it, but when you remove or excavate soil, you can take it to the gravel plant and sell it. However, there are different ways of getting to and from the gravel plant, whether you're buying or selling. You can drive down there, or you can fast travel, or you can simply load up from within the truck. If I jump into the dump truck over here and I bring up the hot menu, I can say fill up, and then I can say fill up with soil, and you can see it says 12,700. Now, you might look at yours in the identical truck and that value might be different, and it's all down to what skills you've got in terms of capacity. But for me, it says 12,700. So let's do a little experiment. Let's fill this truck up with soil from this parking lot, and then we'll take it down to the gravel plant and sell it. We'll do it by traveling there, and then we'll do it by fast traveling there, and then we'll just sell it out the back of the truck, and we'll see what the difference is. And then we'll do the same thing, but we'll buy it, and we'll see what the difference is. But first of all, I need some soil. So what I'm going to do is show you another tip by jumping into the dozer over there. So I want to fill up my dump truck with soil, topsoil that I'm going to remove from the parking lot. That's what it wants me to do. I don't have to keep the topsoil. I can just push it all out of this area, or I could wheel load it, or I can even excavate it off there. But the easiest way of doing it is with a bulldozer. However, you may not realise, but the best way to use a dozer is actually from the centre of the lot and not from the edge of the lot. And it's particularly true if there's two of you, because you can both work from the centre and push the soil outwards into channels, which you can then scoop up and put in the back of the dump truck. But in order to figure out what you need to do, you either hold down the V key or you hold down the Y key on controller, and that will show you the construction view. So while I'm holding this key down, I can see in red the soil that it wants me to remove. As I start to do this, I'll get more and more green areas, and by using this construction view I can see what's still left. And this, you'll find, is a very useful view, particularly when you're excavating and you're trying to get the last 5%, you can't figure out where it is. Use this view. However, one more tip, go to settings, go to gameplay, construction view control, turn that to yes instead of no, and then you'll find that when you hold the V key or the Y key, I've let go of the key now and it stays on. So I can actually bulldoze. I know it's not ideal because you can't see the bucket or anything, but you can actually bulldoze while you're in this view, which can make things easier. So I find having that on toggle is better than not having it on toggle. So what you want to do with the bulldozer is angle the blade outwards from the middle and then lower it into position and then just start moving forward. And if I toggle on the construction view, what you should start to see is that you're pushing the soil out, depending on the depth of it, but you can see what I'm missing and what I'm not missing. So you just need to adjust the depth of the blade. Having done that, what you can then do, it'd be even better if I didn't actually put this truck in the way. Whoops, wrong truck. That truck, excuse me. I'll just jump back and I'll reverse back the truck out the way because it shouldn't have been where it is. I've left it in the way of the building site, which is no good. There we go. And we'll turn this thing around. What you then want to do is angle your blade back the other way, so you're always pushing outwards. The alternative is, you know, you can go back down to the side and just come down the same way, but this is slightly more efficient, I think. So again, just push the blade down, like that. If I put that onto construction view, you should see that we start channeling the ground away. Now what we're doing is we're making up a channel which will make the wheel loader's job that much easier to scoop up. So you get the idea. You keep doing that until you end up with quite a lot of soil clumped up, which I'll do now. So there you go. I've pushed all of that into a ridge, and you can see top left it says I've done 46%, so I've done almost half of it. So what I'll do now is I'll grab that soil and we'll throw it in the back of the dump truck. So there we go. I have scooped all that up, scooped a little bit from over there as well, and that dump truck is now completely full. So if we jump in it, you can see the yellow bar completely full. So if I bring up the quick option and say fill up, you can actually empty via the fill up menu, which is slightly counterintuitive and not something I discovered for a little while, but you can actually empty it for 6,285 credits, which is by far the quickest way of doing it. So you just fill us up, empty it, boom, good to go, carry on. The other way of doing it is bring up your map, find the nearest gravel plant, and I do say the nearest, and then fast travel. So as long as you've discovered this, then you can fast travel. And by the way, I recommend you get a car at the start of a map, get a car and drive around and discover everywhere in the car. It's by far the quickest way. Just rent the car, discover everything, it will reap dividends later. And also, it's a fun way to see the map. But anyway, we fast travel over here. So 6,800 was it, is what we can get if we simply empty it, or we can fast travel for a small fee. You can drive over here, don't get me wrong, but you only pay a small fee for fast travelling. And what you'll find is, once you get here and we tip, as we drive away, watch the top right there, as we drive away, we'll get paid. 6,800 was what we was going to get. 9,059. That is about 50%, 45% more, and then we can simply fast travel back to the work site. And yes, we do pay a fee when we fast travel, but it's not much. What was that? Less than 100 credits. So less than 100 credits, and we got about 4,000 more. So all in all, we made 4 grand for very little in the way of time. Now, if you're in multiplayer, it's even better because you can have 2 trucks on site. One guy is fast traveling and emptying while the other person or people are busy excavating and doing the ground, and it's very efficient. So bear that in mind, that when you get in a vehicle, unless it's super convenient, do not load up like this. That's 12,700 to fill up on soil. Let's do this with gravel. This is where it gets even more interesting. Look, 20,000 credits to fill this up with gravel. Instead of doing that, we'll fast travel over and we'll buy gravel. I know this job needs gravel, so it will shortly ask us to load up on gravel. Where's the gravel thing for this one gone? Hang on a minute. I'm slightly disoriented. Oh, it's down there, isn't it, on this one? Bit of a pain, this one. The other one's much nicer. I think this one you've got to drive down this bit, so it's slightly more inconvenient. It's fine for asphalt or for tipping, but if you want to load up on gravel, you've got to go down here. So almost 20,000 if we load up on site. Let's see how much it costs. Bear in mind this takes slightly longer. Probably going to take you another 40 seconds or something to fast travel down here and then load off. But watch the difference. It makes a big difference to your profit. 20,000 credits, 16,300. Not as huge, but that's nearly 4,000 credits again. It's like 3,500 credit difference. All because you took an extra 30 seconds out your day to fast travel there and back. I think it's worth doing, and it's made a load of savings. Again, when you come to concrete is the same, even more valuable. So that is my tip for you, is fast travel when you're selling stuff and fast travel when you're buying stuff from the gravel plant, because you'll save an absolute ton of cash. And my other tip is, when you're excavating soil in particular, when you're excavating, you will remove a lot of soil. Each of that soil is worth nearly 10,000 credits to your dump truck. That more than pays for your rental on the equipment. On one load, it will pay for your rental on equipment for a day. On some sites, I've excavated 15 to 20 trucks worth of soil, right? And each one is worth 10 grand. Your money will rack up very quickly. So definitely consider fast traveling around in order to buy and sell gravel, tarmac and concrete. So the final thing I want to give you in terms of tips and tricks is upgrade levels and milestones. So let's talk about that. We have already mentioned milestones. Upgrade levels. If you go to upgrade levels, these things are super important for your progress in your game. As soon as you unlock these things, it will tell you that you've unlocked something. Come into here and see if you can buy it. There will be a fee, but one of the ones that I want you to pay attention to, well, actually, there's a couple of things I want to pay attention to, but this one here, refueling and repair. In order to unlock this at the maximum level, you will need to have refueled and repaired 50 vehicles. When you take a vehicle out on site and you do some excavation or whatever, it will use a bit of fuel and it will need repairing, just a little bit. But instead of just storing it away and letting it auto repair, take it to a fuel station, get it refueled and repaired manually. It'll take you another 20 seconds, but it'll count towards this, and that's another one of your 50 done. But you'll thank me later, trust me. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is this here, the Mechanic 3 and the Gas Station 1 and Workshop. These upgrades here, right? So Gas Station will allow you to refuel your vehicles cheaper than at the city. So instead of going to fuel stations, once you've got the gas station unlocked, teleport to your base and refuel there. And the same thing with the Workshop. As of now, it says construction machines can be quickly repaired in the area in front of the vehicle hall. So what you want to do is you want to bring your vehicles and it will change from site to site. But when you've got the gas station, you'll get one of these, and you bring your vehicle here and you'll be able to refuel it. And then once you've got the Workshop, you can bring your vehicle over here and you can get it repaired. So that will be cheaper to refuel and repair, and it does get a little bit pricey later on some of the bigger vehicles, so it's worth saving. You're talking hundreds, not tens of saving, so definitely worth doing. So that is the upgrade level. The other thing is the milestones, the company milestones. Now these happen organically, but it's worth being aware of them. For example, on this one here, because I'm fast traveling all around, and I've done it quite a lot, and you probably will too now after watching this video, you get a 30% discount when you're maxed out on that, and that makes fast traveling way quicker. Other things are like, for example, here with gravel. As you buy gravel in the game, once you've done 300 cubic meters, you'll get a 15% discount. Same thing with concrete once you've bought 900 cubic meters and so on. It's worth paying attention to these, although you won't directly aim for them like you will with upgrade levels. It's worth being aware of them because it will give you yet more discounts and bring your operating costs down. I would have liked to have seen a better breakdown of finances in the game than this. I would have liked to have seen a more detailed breakdown, but it's not in the game. And the final tip I want to give you today is this. When you play the US map and then you go and play the EU map or vice versa, you don't need to start again completely. What you can do is you can come down to here and transfer money out of your company and into your personal account. You can then jump into your other map and then put the money from there back into that company. So effectively, you can move money from your European to your US map company account and vice versa by going via your personal account. And that is the last tip and trick I have for you today. I hope you found this video useful. Please let me know in the comments section any tips and tricks that I've not shown that you think would be cool. If I build up enough of them, any cool tricks you've got, I'll make another video and I'll give you a little shout out for it. But please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you're new here, consider subscribing. That's it from me. Take care, guys, and happy constructing.